All right. Welcome, everybody. Scott Jones here with Spotlight on Addiction and Recovery. And as always, we want to talk about not just addiction, because we've heard a lot about that, but we want to talk about the other side of it, which is recovery and being in recovery. And for that, I got a good friend of mine, Peter Marinelli, who is with Through the Archway.
Correct.
Why don't you tell us real quick about who you're with?
Through the Archway.
Okay, there we go. Thanks for the show. No, that's it. Go ahead.
We are located in Parkland, Florida, and we are a very affordable alternative to treatment, are now nonprofit, and we have a retreat center that I specifically designed not to look like a treatment center. And so the guests there feel like they have a home while they're with us, whether it's 90 days, 6 months, some stay longer, some come in for maybe a month or two, but they really like the culture and the community atmosphere that we have there. So it's a pretty neat little setup in Parkland, Florida, yeah.
Based on 12 steps?
Well, we certainly do a good job of exposing them to the
Okay.
12 steps, and we have a curriculum that reflects that. I'm real mindful of not selling AA or NA or CA while we're there. We don't want to do that, but we need to keep them well informed, and we have lessons to help them have an experience not only with 12 steps, but a lot of spiritual information, which quite frankly, even to some of the guests who come in who've been in 15 and 20 treatment centers have never been exposed to this. What they've been exposed to is a heavy clinical approach.
Right.
And so many years ago, someone who was very close to me, one of my teachers, gave me a call one day, and he had a fond nickname for me. He would call me Money, and I never had any. I don't know why he did this, but he says, the business is not working. And he was almost prophetic where he said that at some point, insurance companies are going to take ownership of this business, and we want to stay away from that. And he and he was the trailblazer, put our heads together, and we came up with a curriculum that was unique, even radical at the time. Not dealing with insurance to give us lots of latitude to teach as we see fit. And what I quickly found out is you don't need a degree. And the people who have degrees are wonderful people. They work hard at what they're doing.
Certainly.
But you don't need a degree to speak the truth. Mm-hmm. And it quickly caught fire. And that's what I have been doing for, Lord have mercy, over probably 25 years now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, this is very important to you, this work.
It's my life's work. I've watched I've buried too many people who've been in and out of treatment, a revolving door. Now, granted, some of those folks are nowhere near willing to stop. They haven't had that experience where I need to do anything. But what about the folks who come in, so many of them, men, women, young folks, older folks, and when you sit with them, how many treatment centers have you been in? 5, 10, 15, 20. I've lost everything. And they want to go back into another treatment center. And I said, well, maybe there's another way we can do this. And what really helps me sleep at night is when you get the phone call from John O'Mary and says, I have 1 year sobriety now. Thank you
Yes.
for everything you did. I was so frightened when I came into your environment because it was new to me. I'm used to treatment centers. And now there are treatment centers out there who are doing fabulous work. I don't want to whitewash everyone.
Right.
There's wonderful places out there. This is just an alternative.
Right.
And so we get folks come. It was originally designed for the chronic relapser, but I quickly found out someone who's never been through treatment shows up at our doorstep broken. And as awful as broken feels, because I was there, it's actually a great thing, because they've been brought to a place of being teachable now. And so I have this clean eraser board,
All right.
and we're able to teach as we see fit and what has worked for so many. And they come in for 30 days, they like to stay for 60 days, they like to stay for 90 days, they like to stay for 6 months. And at some point, you have to push them out of the nest.
Right.
Because then it becomes counterproductive. And they'll call us, or they'll send us a card, and they're married, they have children, they have careers. And Lord, I have alumni out there with, 15, 20 years sober now. many of them. And they still talk about the lectures I sat in there with, and I barked at them, and I pushed and pulled, and so it's something that I've been called to do, and sometimes I want to quit. The heartbreak is great, but here I am chopping wood and carrying water, and I work with just a fabulous staff, just folks who are committed to the work. So it's what I do.
It's amazing how just when you reach that point of I just can't do this anymore. I think I'll see if McDonald's is hiring, or you just kind of done,
Yeah.
and then something happens and it reminds you why you do it.
Well,
you see the light come on for somebody, or a spark.
every 6 months for the last 25 years, I'm getting a new field. I'm getting into a new field. I'm done. And burnout is part of the business. And sometimes it's a lot. You're around anywhere from 15 to 20 and more folks who are broken and toxic. And as I was when I went into treatment in 1988. And then someone will walk into your office, or you'll get the phone call, or you'll get something on Facebook, or you'll get a text message. Hey, Peter, thank you so much for all those lessons. I just made 1 year sober. And you go back to work.
Right.
How could I not do this?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, that's great. So if anybody wants to check out Through the Archway, the website, the phone number, everything's right up on the screen. Give them a call. You don't have to make a commitment if you call.
No.
If somebody wants to call, just ask a question.
We get lots of folks calling, want to know who we are.
Okay.
And what we do, and want to know if they know the staff. Are they still working there? Who's doing the lectures? What kind of accommodations you have?
Right.
Occasionally get folks who want their own room in a corner and wondering if we have, butler service. You get those folks calling too. So we just inform them. I am someone cut from a cloth. I will not sell anyone on coming in. It goes against everything I believe in.
Right.
That has to come from them. So I'll just inform them. My staff will just inform them as to what we do. And they come in and we take the reins. And the thing is, we don't replace any 12-step fellowship. And we don't certainly do it better than anyone. But some folks need to come in from the cold and stop the bleeding. And so we try to, I'll explain what I do is like spring training in baseball, get in shape.
Right.
And then you're out there for the first pitch, and you have some muscles, you have some tools, and we direct them while they're with us to 12-step fellowships, and those people, in fact, we have some of them coming in and doing our lectures, so we bridge them right in rather than have someone leave treatment and they don't know where to go. And it's awfully lonely when you leave that little place and then you're out in the real world. It happened to me. How do I get a job? Where's the 12-step fellowships? This thing they call a sponsor. How do I find that? I don't know how to do any of this stuff. I don't even know how to look for an apartment. So we teach them, and we bring the folks from 12-step come in, and they kind of take them under their wing, and they bring them to those places, help them with those job searches, and obviously with recovery, the number one thing. My experience has shown me as long as someone is sober, anything's possible on the good end. Once we're using, everything bad is about to happen. So I try to get them connected with the folks in 12-step fellowships. What the 12-step fellowships does daily is beyond miraculous. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. So I trust them more than anyone else.
And I guess, and again, if you have any questions, please call Through the Archway and talk to any of the staff. They're wonderful people. But you brought up the 12-step fellowships, and they are very important for a lot of people in recovery. Of course, it's not the only way to assume that there's only one way to get sober or to find recovery would be asinine at best. But there's a lot of people who use that.
Yes.
With COVID-19, with the quarantines and the shutdowns and the social distancing, have you seen that as a barrier for some people? Has that been a problem that you've seen?
Folks who have been sober, I see them attending Zoom meetings now.
Yes.
And making their way. lots of Zoom meetings, lots of phone calls, and
But that might be a different story for the newcomer.
well, yeah, that's the challenge, where someone perhaps leaves treatment today,
Yes.
and there's no meetings to attend, to be there physically, and so their first introduction to a 12-step fellowship is Zoom. Now, that's not what a lot of folks are used to. So I encourage, because I hear, I don't like Zoom. I'm going to wait for the meetings to open. But we have new folks coming in, and their job is to embrace them into this temporary situation, let them know they're loved, they're cared for, and we have a design for living for you. So it is quite challenging.
Yes.
Leaving treatment, there's no meetings to go to per se, and I need to go online. Hopefully I own a computer. Some folks are so busted up, they don't even have money to buy dinner that night. So that's why I like when we introduce them to some of those 12-step fellowship folks who will take them under their wing, invite them into their home, and have them sit down and get in on a Zoom meeting. But it is challenging. I'll even go and as far as, for the most part, I hear a lot of folks who've been sober a while, they just kind of go with the flow and are involved in Zoom. But there's a population of them who still feel uncomfortable. They're waiting for the meetings to open and for COVID to pass.
Yeah, I'm not honestly, and I've been in TV and radio before, and I, of course, doing podcasts, and right here at Addiction Training Center, which sponsors the show, we have had to move all of our trainings. We used to do the live trainings, which I always loved doing. My business partner Karen and I, we would go and do these live trainings and interact. And now everything's online, and it works, and in some ways there's an advantage to a training online. But to actually feel that fellowship and make that connection with people using Zoom or a video conferencing, that is really difficult. I don't particularly like it. Now, my business partner, she's like, great. She's attending meetings. We're in Florida. She's attending meetings up in New York, in different places, and places we used to be and that she used to be, and it's really cool. But I miss that connection and that fellowship. So, yeah, that's a tough one when you're sending somebody out the door, and if the first thing they say to you is, I don't like going on online meetings, what do you do with them? What do you say?
My job is to encourage them to get to the Zoom meetings, because right now it's the only game in town, and it is your lifeline. And explain to them that the rooms will be open and you'll be back in these 12-step fellowships, but for right now you need to connect with many people. And from what I understand, there's phone numbers are exchanged and things like that, and emails are exchanged. So it's a pretty cool outlet for the moment. It would be like if I was home right now and doing this talk with you.
Right.
Now, we know each other, we'll connect via video, but sitting here talking to you, I won't get it home and you're in the office. And that is a huge hole in it.
Yeah.
But most folks are under the understanding that even if Zoom continues for the end of time, for the most part, it'll be temporary. We'll be getting together soon. And so we need to reassure, those folks need to reassure those new people, this is just a means to an end till we get back to wherever we're meeting, and we'll see you face to face.
At the end of this crisis, and there will be an end to this crisis, certainly,
Please
at
God.
some point. At some point, yes. We're going to have the benefit of both worlds. I think that there's always going to be the online that will continue because there is a convenience to it, especially for people who have gotten a little bit of a firmer footing in sobriety and they're a little more motivated and stuff. But, God bless, as soon as those rooms opens up, I think it's going to be important for the newcomers. The shame is that the changes, and I don't want to be negative on this show, but the changes in the opioid epidemics, the overdoses and the people that are suffering, there has been 48 to 52% increases in some major cities of overdose deaths during this crisis. This disease does not stop because there's a quarantine. It gets worse.
What's also sad is prior to COVID, it was maybe the top 3 storylines.
Yeah.
If you turn on the news.
Yeah.
And you don't even see it that often.
It's at the bottom of page 6 now.
Yeah. But it's happening, and it's gotten worse.
Yes, it has.
And so the folks in recovery know that. And quite frankly, they're the folks who need to know about that, and because those are the folks who are on the front lines, the firing lines, and helping those other people for free, for fun and for free. Now, it's nice when there's grants given to treatment centers to help these folks who
Certainly.
don't have money.
Yeah.
It was always puzzled me where an addict would call up or an alcoholic would call up ABC Treatment Center. And one of the first phone calls, and I get it, it's a business, one of the first phone calls questions you would get is, what type of insurance policy you have?
Right.
Now this guy's living under a bridge and is reaching out for help. So you hit click.
Yes.
So if there were grants given to bring some of these folks in to get them help because they're dying, quite frankly, needlessly because of addiction. And we need to have an outlet to treat people who suffer from addiction, because the folks who are suffering from addiction never asked to be suffering from addiction. However they got there, there's a million different stories and a lot of common denominators, a lot of common threads in that story. They all have them. But they're there. What are we doing about watching them die?
It seems like that's the case. And, and I love how you said that. They didn't choose this path. While they were out, when they were little kids, and I like to share this with people, when they were all little kids running around playing cowboys and Indians and cops and robbers and doing all of that, nobody played rehab when you were a kid, because this is not where you were supposed to end up.
Right.
Come here, Timmy, lay down and shake. You're the heroin addict. No, they didn't do that.
That's right.
This is not where they were supposed to be, but it is where they ended up. And and one of the things Karen and I with ATC we promote constantly is in those admission calls or help calls or whatever they might be, your first responsibility should be to treat it like a 12-step call. For those who don't understand what that is, it's simply you're there to help another human being. Correct. Because maybe you can't take them at your treatment center. I understand. You can't let everybody in the doors for free because you'll be closed, and then you can't help anybody. Yeah. But maybe there's something you could do to steer them in the right direction, or something you could say to them positive, other than you've got the wrong insurance, call someone else and hang up. Direct them to a meeting, direct them somewhere, do something.
Why I love what Through the Archway does is because we're a nonprofit, very loving, caring people who are behind us with the cause make donations. And so when I get John or Mary calling up and they're living under a bridge, or they just ran out of insurance and they have no money, but they really want to come in, we'll do an assessment with them. And because of that grant money, we can, if not scholarship them, at least work with the families to get something just to pay for maybe incidentals. But usually what happens is John or Mary calls, they have nothing, they're begging to come into treatment, and because of the funding we've been getting, we say, come in.
What a great feeling.
Here's the thing. John and Mary comes in, they have the clothes on their back. They're tore up, as we used to say back in the day, from the floor up.
Right.
They don't have a clue, but they're so grateful to have a clean bed, food, and this beautiful place they're living in. And then we keep them for 30 days, we keep them for 60 days, we keep them for 90 days, and then one day you walk into a lecture and they show up because you look at the eyes and the eyes are on, the fire's on. Now you see them like they're there, they're paying attention, their rooms are tight, they're helping other people. What can I do to give back? And by that point, we've introduced them to the 12-step fellowship men and women who come in for free and do a talk or do a lecture. So then I'd hook up with those folks. Yeah. And suddenly the light at the end of the tunnel is in a train headed for them. There's hope. And that's another reason why when I put my head on a pillow at night, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
That's great.
It's a great thing.
That is a great thing.
I'm aging by the day. My hair's getting gray. I got wrinkles, but it's working.
He's only 22. He looks horrible. No.
Yeah, man.
Again, with the crisis that's going on right now, it may seem like addiction is no longer a problem, but it's a bigger problem than ever. It's just not front page news. And it's because of three things. I mean, addiction loves three things. It loves boredom. Mm-hmm. It loves isolation, and it loves loneliness. And quarantine creates isolation, creates loneliness, creates boredom. So we've got this kind of perfect storm to feed addiction or feed alcoholism. So it's really more important than ever, certainly pay attention to yourself. But if you've got somebody that you love that you know has struggled, keep an eye on them. Be careful. Don't just let your loved ones go and say, well, they'll deal with it after the quarantine. They'll deal with it after COVID. They'll deal with it when things smooth out. They'll deal with it next week. People are dead next week.
Yeah, we need to deal with it right now. And the fellowship, whatever fellowship you belong to, going through Zoom temporarily. And in South Florida, there are these clubhouses that have opened. So there's meetings to get to again. But the fellowship for many of these folks becomes a Band-Aid on an open wound. I have that Zoom meeting at 12 o'clock, and John and Frank and Bill and Mary are going to be there. And so they know who the new people are. And what those folks will do to deal with boredom, to deal with COVID, to deal with even unemployment, to deal with everything, is to get them starting to pray. Because at the end of the day, God overcomes everything. See, the mind will overcome everything except God. So the mind will blow through any hopes and dreams I have. It'll take me to delusions of grandeur or to the lowest thing in the world. And it constantly works and works 24/7. So if you're new and you don't have the medicine, the drugs, or the alcohol, you feel like a raw nerve. What do? I got the chatter of 1,000 voices. Where do I go? So I go into a meeting and I start to meet this fellowship and they start to know me. Maybe I take a little service commitment, but all the while getting a prayer life and getting a God of your own understanding, because the only thing the mind cannot combat is God. So we have found, in my experience, as soon as you drive that addict or alcoholic to God and have a relationship with God, they will be able to overcome many, many, many obstacles. Albeit we're going to fall in a ditch once in a while. Sometimes life just gets you. But there's an undercurrent of God is going to take care of me. God is going to take care of me. And when you see these cats who are praying and meditating, and then what happens, you get a servant's heart. It's not about me. It's about who can I be of service to. I only have 30 days off the sauce, but there's someone one day I could be of service. That's all godly stuff. Life takes on new meaning now. I'm not consumed with me, and I'm not listening to this predator called the mind. I'm praying to God, saying, God, what do you need from me today? There's a shift in consciousness, yeah? And that person is now traveling light rather than traveling with the boulder on their back and traveling heavy. And you don't need a year or 5 years or 20 years. I see some of these folks who leave through the archway and then come back for an alumni night, and they have just 6 months. Now, to them, 6 months is an eternity.
Yeah, it's an eternity, right.
But they're just learning how to crawl, but they're alive again. They have a purpose-driven life, to quote the book.
So there's a lot of people listening to this right now. And let's be honest, there's a lot of people saying, okay, here comes the God thing. Mm-hmm. And that's not where I am. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be there to start the journey, do you? No. I mean, if you're not, if somebody's sitting there and they're saying, well, I want to get some help, but, I don't get the God thing, that's okay, because everybody's journey has to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, you don't have to. And I don't know if we'll ever understand or comprehend God. That's a given. But I need to start somewhere, and it's willingness that is evidenced by actions. Mm-hmm. I don't know about this God thing. I have a problem with the God thing, so what do?
Sometimes it's just be willing to try something different.
Bingo.
Right?
And try something different. Get out of the lane you're in.
Yeah. And
circumstances will always make someone willing. Desperation will make someone willing to, okay, I don't know what this is going to be like. I don't like it. I'm petrified, but I can't stand being the way I am right now. So a question I throw out to some folks is, because they'll come in through the archway, and someone might be talking about a higher power, a God, whatever their conception is, you don't care, and they pump the brakes. And so the simple question is, well, it's two of them, considerations. When you were drinking, you knew when you drank that drink was going to take you to a place you couldn't get to. And when you did drugs, you knew those drugs were going to get you from where you were to this place you're hoping to get. Mm-hmm. Wasn't that a power greater than yourself? Then we asked them, why did you come into a treatment center? Why did you come to Archery? Well, I have a problem with alcohol and drugs. I got that. So why didn't you stop on your own? Well, I can't. So you expect this treatment facility through the Archery or 12-step fellowship to help you stay stopped. Yes. Isn't that a power greater than yourself? Mm.
That's a good way to think about it.
Now we can begin.
You know, and if I could plant the seed for somebody out there, you don't always have to know what's going to work, as long as you understand what you're doing isn't working. Mm-hmm. And then you'll open yourself up. I think the biggest thing for people to understand is what you're doing is not working. I mean, that's the first step in a nutshell.
Yeah.
The way you're living, the way the decisions you're making are not. Now, if you think you're living in a crack house and smoking dope and doing the stuff you're doing day after day and the pain and suffering, if you think that's the best life that you're supposed to have, but you know what? People really don't think that. They really don't.
No. One of the things I like to throw out at folks is to reassure them that because you have addiction, it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
No.
It doesn't mean you're stupid. It doesn't mean you deserve this. You just got, like if someone was a diabetic, or if God forbid someone got diagnosed with cancer, you got it. It doesn't reflect your personality, it's just what you have. And we do strange things under the influence or to get more.
Yeah. So the act is bad. The act it's a bad act, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad person.
No.
You're sick and you're heading that direction.
Most of these folks deep down in there, let me rephrase.
Okay.
Those folks, all of them, deep down in there, there's a wonderful person that has been beaten up by addiction. And so what you want to do is get back to that spirit, that soul of the person. So the question is, when they're kind of wavering, based on what you've done so far, how's that working out for you?
Right.
I'm living in the back of an abandoned building. I'm sleeping in a crack house. I'm drinking 24/7. My wife and kids just left. So based on what you've been doing, how's that working out for you? Not too good. Are you willing to try something new? You know, every so often we've all gotten the flu, or we've gotten the runny nose and we have a head cold, or some of us get some other thing. And so what do? You go to your doctor. And your doctor says, I'll give you a little prescription. Take these antibiotics for a week. They're going to taste terrible. You're not going to feel too good. But in a week's time, the flu will be gone. And I'm feeling so ill from this flu. I'm running a fever. I got body ache. So, you know what? I can't deal with this flu. I want to get out there. I want to get to the gym. I want to go to work. So if I take this for a week, you're telling me the flu will be gone? Yes. Okay, give me the medicine.
Right.
In a week's time, I'm back to work. And I talk about when I had the flu. I don't have the flu anymore. I might get it again, but right now I don't have the flu. I had the flu. So the medicine, although it might be, I'm uncertain about it, I'm skeptical, what's it going to do to me? You're telling me, all of you people are telling me you took that medicine called recovery, and you're not suffering like I'm suffering right now.
Yeah.
Give me a double dose.
I'll take two, please. All right. So if you want to learn more about Through the Archway and certainly learn more about Peter and the work that he does, certainly give them a call, the number on your screen. Check out their website, send them an email, check out their Facebook page, Through the Archway Facebook page. Get involved. If there's somebody that you're concerned about, ask questions. Ignorance is only blissful to the ignorant. Don't do that. If somebody you know is in trouble, reach out, find somebody to help you so that you can deal with it.
There's so many people out there offering help, good, really good people, in treatment, therapists, clinicians, clergy. That's the pandemic as well. And so many folks know someone who knows someone who's in recovery.
Right.
All you have to do is ask, I need help. Where do I get help? You'll find it.
Exactly right. And so while you're at all of that, make sure you check out the ATC Network on YouTube and check out the addictiontrainingcenter.com if you'd like to learn more about getting involved in helping others who have problems with addictions. But Peter, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Pleasure.
And we'll catch you next time right here. Again, I'm Scott Jones. We'll catch you right here on our show, which I can't remember the name of at the moment. It's been one of those days, folks. We'll see you next time.
Bye now.
Yes, it totally left me. I'll just throw